Namaste. Dear students, you know, in the plant for the transportation, they have the xylem and phloem. Xylem conducts the water and phloem help for the transportation of food inside the body. But in the plant, there is no blood. So instead of blood, water acts as a media for the transportation of the substances. You can come to the animals. But in the animals, we can see the separate systems. Different systems we can see in the animals. It may be the respiratory system, excretory system, as well as the circulatory system. So, in the circulatory system, its name indicates the circulates. So, its main function is to circulate the substances to the different parts of the body. Here, what blood acts as a media for the circulation or for the transportation of the substances. So, why in our body the substance has to transfer? So, for that, why blood is important? So, as well as we can study about the in the circulatory system, the main organ is the heart. The structure and functions of the heart we can study, as well as in the circulatory system, the three things are very important. The first one is the blood, next one is the blood vessels, and next is the heart. So about that things we are going to study today's class. Now we can study now the circulatory system in human being. Every organ in our body requires the involvement of the circulating body fluid. For example, first one, the digestive system digest and absorb nutrients which are needed to the transported to every cell of the body. Your digestive system also requires the fluid because to absorb and to transport that digested food to the particular body parts. Next, the respiratory system draws in air and the oxygen picked up from it in the lungs has to be transported to all parts of the body. Similarly, the carbon dioxide collected from the entire body has to be carried to the lungs to be exhaled out of the body. Here exchange of the gas takes place. In here also the blood acts as a media for the exchange of the gases. Next, all the extra water, excess salts and the nitrogenous waste such as urea have to be removed from different parts and have to be sent to the excretory system to be thrown out of the body. Here whatever the excess water is there, salt is there, as well as the nitrogenous waste is there, so it has to come out from our body. For that purpose also this fluid is very important. Next, hormones secreted by the endocrine system have to be carried throughout the body by the circulating blood to act wherever required and so on. Here it also helpful for the circulation of the hormones. It is secreted by the endocrine gland and it will goes to the particular body organs. In our body we can see three different types of the fluids. One is the blood, another tissue fluid, and is the lymph. Now we can focus on the blood first. Here blood, tissue fluid and lymph, as they circulate in their respective vessels or spaces between the cells in different organs. The blood in our body circulates in a closed manner, that is all the time through blood vessels. Such a type of blood circulation is called a closed blood circulatory system. Means here blood flows inside the blood vessels, means artery, veins, as well as in the capillaries. But in certain animals such as insects, the blood mostly flows through open spaces in the body called an open blood circulatory system. Means here the blood will not flow inside the blood vessels, it will present in between the space which are present in the cells. Their blood flows from the heart to the body space without vessels. That is called open blood circulatory system. Next, functions of blood. The main functions of the blood in our body can be treated under two broad categories. First one is transport, second one is protection. First we can focus on transport. First one, transport of digested food. Here the digested food from the alimentary canal to the tissues. These substances are simple sugars like glucose, amino acids, vitamins, mineral salts, etc. Here whatever the digested food is there, so through the alimentary canal it will passes to the different body organs or tissues with the help of the blood. Second, transport of oxygen. Transport of oxygen from the lungs to the tissues. It occurs by means of red blood cells in combination with hemoglobin in the form of an unstable compound oxyhemoglobin, which on reaching the tissues breaks up to deliver oxygen. Here transportation of oxygen mainly takes place with the help of the red blood cells, because on the surface of red blood cells we can see the one of the pigment that is called as hemoglobin. Hemoglobin having the capacity to carry the oxygen. So here when the hemoglobin, that is a representation is Hb, when hemoglobin combines with oxygen it forms oxyhemoglobin. It transports the oxygen to the different parts of the body. Third one, transport of carbon dioxide. Transport of carbon dioxide from the tissues to the lungs. It occurs partly in combination with hemoglobin and partly as solution in blood plasma. Here also how the oxygen will transport, at the same time the transportation of carbon dioxide also takes place from the tissues to the lungs. It occurs partly in combination with hemoglobin, means whatever the carbon dioxide is there, it does not hemoglobin does not carry all this carbon dioxide. A little amount of carbon dioxide is carried by the hemoglobin and rest is carried by the plasma. Here also hemoglobin when combines with the carbon dioxide it forms carbaminohemoglobin. Next, transport of excretory material. Transport of excretory material from the tissues to the liver, kidney or the skin for elimination or to render them harmless. Here the transportation of excretory materials also takes place. It may be through the liver, kidney as well as the skin. Next, distribution of hormones. Distribution of hormones secreted by special glands that we call as endocrine glands directly into the blood. Endocrine means it is a ductless gland. So whatever the secretion takes place in the gland, it directly pour into the blood and through the blood it goes to the particular organ. Next, distribution of heat. Distribution of heat, the blood helps in keeping the temperature of the body uniform by distributing heat. Here the blood also helps to distribute the heat uniformly in our body. Next function, protection by blood. The blood forms a clot wherever there is a cut in a blood vessel. The clot serves to prevent further loss of blood and the entry of disease causing germs. If there is a wound, that wound immediately the blood flow will stop because of this clot. So this clot helps the loss of blood as well as entry of disease causing germs inside our body. Second, its white blood corpuscles protect the body from diseases by engulfing bacteria which may have entered the body. Your white blood cells, we can call it as a soldiers of the body. It protect our body by disease causing germs. Next, it produces antitoxins and antibodies which neutralize the poisonous substances or kill the germs which enter the body. So it also helps to produce the antitoxins as well as the antibodies. Here antibodies, it kill the disease causing germs, and antitoxins which neutralize the poisons. So from the poison also as well from the disease causing germs, the blood protect our body. Next, composition of blood. The blood consists of plasma and cellular elements. In the plasma, it has a fluid part. It constitutes 55 to 60% of blood. And in the cellular elements, we can see red and white cells and platelets, 40 to 45% of blood. First, we can study plasma. The plasma, it is a light yellowish colored liquid part of the blood. It is alkaline in nature, and plasma, it mainly consists of water 90 to 92%, proteins 7 to 8%, inorganic salts 1%, other substances traces. The inorganic salts mainly include sodium chloride and sodium bicarbonate. Among other substances contained in the plasma are glucose, amino acids, fibrinogen, hormones, urea, etc. Here fibrinogen acts as a protein. It helps for the clotting of blood. The plasma from which the protein fibrinogen has been removed is called serum. Serum is from the plasma, when the fibrinogen protein removed, the whatever the remaining liquids are there, that are called as a serum. Next, cellular elements of the blood. There are three cellular elements we can see. First one is red blood cells, next one is white blood cells, next one is the blood platelets. First we can focus red blood cells. It is called as erythrocytes. Erythro means here red, cytes means cells, so red blood cells. These are minute biconcave disc-like structure, flat in the center and thick and rounded at the periphery. So it is a biconcave disc-like structure. Why it is bi? Because both the side is a concave in shape. That's why it is a biconcave in shape. Next one. These are very small, about 7 micron in diameter. So these red blood cells are the smallest cell in our body. The small size plus the concavities on either side provide a large surface area which makes them very efficient in absorbing oxygen. So the small size as well as the biconcavities help for the absorbing the more amount of oxygen. The small size enables the red blood cells to travel through very fine capillaries in the body where they have to travel in a single file. Here this small size also help for the RBCs. They can travel very fine blood vessels, that is in the capillaries, they can move very easily. So next we can focus in mammalian red blood cells. When mature, circulate in the blood system and are devoid of certain organelles. They are no nucleus, no mitochondria and no endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, first one, loss of nucleus. This loss of nucleus makes the red cells biconcave, thus increasing their surface area, volume, ratio for absorbing more oxygen. Space in between increased, more RBCs can be accommodated in the same space. Here because of the loss of nucleus, red blood cells are biconcave in shape. So this biconcavity helpful for increasing the absorption of the more amount of oxygen. Next, loss of mitochondria. Loss of mitochondria means that the red cells cannot use oxygen for themselves, because the mitochondria shows the cellular respiration. Thus, all the oxygen absorbed from the lungs is transported and delivered to the tissues unconsumed. Here, whatever the oxygenated blood will receive from the lungs, that all the oxygen will transported to the different parts of our body. Here, the RBC will not utilize for themselves. Secondly, loss of mitochondria means full transport of glucose in blood plasma unused by the RBCs. So another one, whatever the glucose is there, that glucose also transport to the different parts of the body. RBCs will not utilize that glucose as well as oxygen for themselves because of loss of lack of mitochondria. So in the mitochondria, cellular respiration takes place. Cellular respiration is glucose breaks down, it releases the carbon dioxide. So for the breakdown of the glucose, it requires the oxygen. So because of lack of mitochondria, both glucose and oxygen is completely transported to the different parts of the body. Next, no endoplasmic reticulum means increased flexibility of RBCs for their movement through narrow capillaries. So because of lack of endoplasmic reticulum, RBCs can easily move inside the blood capillaries, because this endoplasmic reticulum acts as a backbone. So how we are having the backbone, so like that, but in the RBCs this endoplasmic reticulum is absent. That's why here the RBC will get the more flexible, so it can easily move inside the fine capillaries. In adults, the RBCs are produced in the marrow of long bones, especially in the ribs, breastbone and ilium of hip girdle. In an embryo, they are produced in the liver and spleen. In embryo stage, there is no bones, that's why the RBCs are produced in the liver and spleen. Spleen I will explain it later. Next, in children, the RBCs are produced in bone marrow of all bones until 5 years of age. The mature red blood cells have no nuclei, but when they are being produced, they have one. So when they are immature condition, nucleus present. When it become mature, nucleus will disappear. The average life of an RBC is about 120 days. The old and weak red blood cells are destroyed in the spleen, liver and bone marrow. Their iron part is retained in the liver, while the rest is excreted as a bile pigment, that is bilirubin. So here damaged or weak RBCs is destroyed in the spleen, liver and bone marrow. While destroying this RBC, whatever the iron part is there in the hemoglobin, it will remain, and rest of the part is excreted out in the form of a bile pigment. Abnormally increased the number of RBCs is called polycythemia, and there is abnormally decrease the number is known as erythropenia. Here RBC number is increased also dangerous and decreased also dangerous. Next, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the effective chemical constituent of RBCs. The red blood cells have a colorless spongy body or stroma which contains a respiratory pigment, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is called as a respiratory pigment because it helps for carrying the oxygen as well as the carbon dioxide. It is present on the surface of RBC. So that's why RBC, it gives the red color for the RBC. The hemoglobin is formed of an iron containing part, that is hemin, and a protein part, globin. Hemoglobin, it has a two part. Iron part is called as hemin and a protein part is there, that is called as a globin. It has the ability to combine readily with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, an unstable compound which readily gives up oxygen to the needy tissues. Here hemoglobin, it carries the oxygen. When it combines with the oxygen, it forms oxyhemoglobin, and it helps for the transportation of oxygen to the different parts of the body. Hemoglobin can carry a very little quantity of carbon dioxide in the form of carbaminohemoglobin. Here hemoglobin also carries the carbon dioxide but less amount, and when the hemoglobin combines with carbon dioxide to form carbaminohemoglobin. Hemoglobin has very strong affinity for carbon monoxide, forming a stable compound carboxyhemoglobin. This cuts down the capacity of the blood of transporting oxygen, sometimes resulting in death. This is known as carbon monoxide poisoning. For example, sleeping near burning furnaces in small rooms without ventilation can result in carbon monoxide poisoning and may even cause death. Here, if a hemoglobin combines with carbon monoxide, it converts into a carboxyhemoglobin. Carboxyhemoglobin is a poisonous one. So, when the hemoglobin combines with carbon monoxide, it cuts the transportation of oxygen to the different parts of the body. In that condition, our body cells will not get the sufficient amount of oxygen and body cells will die. So that condition is called carbon monoxide poisoning. So that's why we have to select a room which is having a well ventilation. That's why we are keeping the ventilators in the home. Today's class we have studied functions of the blood, that is production and transportation, and elements of the blood, that is the plasma and cellular elements. In the cellular elements, you have studied the especially RBCs, erythrocytes, its main features and its main functions.